Liz Kendall, we know that Labour is not going to vote for any version of the Rwanda plan. Now, we've given Kigali about £290 million. If Labour comes to power, will you ask for the money back?
Well, we want to use the money spent on Rwanda to have a different plan that actually works. And the problem is we have seen the government spend months and months on a plan going round and round in circles. You all know this is the third bill in 18 months. The first one didn't work. The second one hasn't even been brought into play. And we need to end these small boat crossings because it's extremely bad for national security as well as the lives lost. And we want to spend that on having a new elite cross-border force to really tackle the criminal gangs that are driving this, and also to get rid of the asylum backlog, which is ending up costing £8 million a day in hotel fees alone. So we have an alternative plan for the future.
I'm familiar with the plan, stop the boats, safe routes and all of that. But I just want to come back to the money, 290 million quid. Will you ask the Rwandans for the money back?
Well, I want to see that money spent
Well,
on
you can't spend it if you don't get it back, can you?
I want to see that money spent on tackling the root causes of the problem, because it is a serious issue that concerns many people in this country.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is what you would do, because I can see the ambition, speed things up, get a better relation with the EU, but you're going to need money to do all of this. And your shadow chancellor comes in and tells me we're not spending any money on anything. So how are you going to do this?
Well, I would like to see that money being spent on a proper alternative, And you say, I'm under no illusions about how difficult this whole issue of illegal immigration is going to be. But there is a different approach. There is a different approach that tackles those networks and supply chains of those criminal gangs who are making millions out of this. And it actually puts into place...
But you're telling me what's wrong. And when you say you're going to tackle those networks, what actually does that constitute? What are you going to do? Send the SAS? What are you going to do?
No, it's about setting up a specific elite cross-border unit to work with other countries to identify the supply routes, the networks, to deal with the money that these criminal gangs are making, and even simple things like where are they getting the equipment, and really dealing with those problems. Now, that won't happen overnight.
What you're telling me is what the government currently is doing. What you seem to be saying is you'll do it a bit better.
No, they are not doing this. And we've said we will treble the number of people working on these issues. They will have that specific, relentless focus. And they are certainly not, Trevor, getting the asylum backlog down. We've got 56,000 people in hotels at the moment, costing £8 million a day, and we want to have a new focus with much more specialist people working up to get the asylum backlog down.
Here's the point. You say you're going to treble the number of people. You're now talking about thousands working on this topic. Where's the money coming from?
Well, we've said we'll scrap the Rwanda scheme. We suddenly hear today, Trevor.
You still aren't telling me that you're going to call up the Rwandans and ask for the money back.
When you are spending £8 million on hotels for asylum seekers a day, do you not think that there is a better way that money could be spent? And I know, as someone who deals with a lot of immigration cases, that you need specialist people working in this to really drive those backlogs down.
Indeed. Well, you're a Leicester MP. Your constituency has historically had a high level of migration, legal migration. Now, that's another arm of this topic. The Home Secretary has just unveiled a 5-point plan, which he says is going to cut the legal migration numbers, 750,000 thereabout, by 300,000. Do you agree with his plan? And would you keep it?
I think the fundamental flaw in the government's approach is that they haven't dealt with the key issue of skill shortages and
But
in this country.
I want to come to all of that. But
No, but this
would
is-
you,
this is
would
my
you keep
Trevor.
Mr. Cleverly's plan, which includes stopping dependence, raising the threshold at which work visas are granted, and so on?
So we have been calling for some while for the salary threshold to be increased and for the government to get rid of the 20% discount they've had. But let me tell you what the problem with
That is
the
for
plan. Let me
that's
just
for
hang on,
shortage
but
occupations.
you're asked for shortage occupations. So what is the key problem here? We need an immigration system, a legal migration system that works for our economy. We do not want a system that is just used to plug gaps because we don't have a proper plan for skills or training in this country. And that has been the prime failure. If you looked,
I promise
Trevor,
you, I
let me
want
just
to ask you about that,
let
but
me
I just want to ask you about what's happened this week. Cleverly says, I've got a plan, I'm going to cut the numbers by 300,000. He has specifically said what he's going to do, and I just want to know whether Labour will keep those
seeing
measures.
as we have been calling for the government to remove that discount and to raise the salary thresholds, I'm glad they have finally caught up.
Okay.
But when you have a shortage occupation list that has included engineers for a decade, nurses for more than a decade, that they've only just put bricklayers, other construction workers on it only 4 months ago. I mean, anybody who knows anything about building in this country knows we've had that shortage. So the fundamental problem with the government's plan is they haven't got a real plan to give people the skills and the training they need in this country, which is why, if you let me say
okay,
our
Karen.
plan, Trevor, because people always rightly want to know what we would do, which is why we'll have fundamental reforms of the apprenticeship levy to give employers more flexibility, why we will have new technical excellent colleges which can really focus on what we need in local areas to give people the skills they need, because we are a party who wants to give the British people the skills and the training they need to have the jobs they want to build a better life for themselves and their families. And that is how you deliver a managed and controlled immigration system.
Well, you've rather cleverly anticipated my next question, which was when your colleague Yvette Cooper told my colleague Kay Burley that you wanted to bring together training and immigration. I guess what you've just been talking about is what that means. Here's a question that occurs to me about this, though. Your ambition is to bring net migration down to what, 200,000.
We're not setting any
Your
figures
colleague
on that,
Darren
Trevor.
Jones said that in terms to me last week. So he wants to bring it down.
We've not given any, and let me tell you why we're not doing that.
No, but he did. He said it.
He said we want to bring immigration down, which we do. But I think that, our economy is huge and complex. It is not for a politician to set a number. We need to get the Migration Advisory Committee.
I get that, but I just want to follow through. Your big thing is growth. You want to bring net migration down by substantially, whether it's 200,000, 300,000, doesn't matter. You want to knock a lot out there. Now, according to employers, we're already short of 55,000 engineers, 50,000 builders, 12,000 plumbers. These are all sectors in which we've had to grab workers from abroad. Of course, you're going to do the training. But you don't get to be a plumber in 10 minutes.
No, I understand.
How are you going to meet your growth ambitions if what you do is cut off migration?
Because we have to help support businesses to create more better paid jobs and to make us a more productive country, which means that people can work to their
But that doesn't
full
answer my
potential.
question.
It does answer the question
got
about how
that
we want
50,000 builders. We haven't got the 55,000 engineers. We are going to import them. So if you want to bring down the numbers, those are the people you're keeping out. How do you square that circle?
So I know from seeing work in my own constituency, it does take time to train our young people to have the jobs of the future. I'm under no illusions about that. We're not going to make promises that we can't keep. But you need to both provide that skills and training for people in this country, which people want.
And the NHS is
and
120,000 short of staff. A third of them are nurses. And they aren't going to turn up tomorrow.
No,
what are you going to do if you bring down the numbers in the way that you say you will?
So you've asked me two questions here. One is how we drive growth, And that is our plan to make Britain a clean energy superpower, creating the jobs of the future, helping our businesses, who you know are struggling. But we have to combine that with improving the skills and training in this population. And for example, Philip, let me just say this. There are many people, many who are women, who would like to work or work more hours if they had the childcare and the other support they needed to work flexibly. It won't happen overnight, but we can make a difference under Labour's
Very
plan.
quickly, the government is going to bring in new legislation. It's laid before the House. There'll be a vote on Tuesday on essentially the emergency legislation, supposedly to make the Rwanda plan legal. You're going to vote against it. If the government loses, will you call a vote of no confidence?
They're not going to lose. I think he will get through quite comfortably on this, because why would a Tory MP signal such a lack of confidence in their Prime Minister? They don't want an election because they're worried they'll lose their seat. He'll get this through comfortably.
Liz Kendall, thank you very much.